Hi, Holly here again. Back and doing another video. Today will be a video on something that is indirectly and directly dear to my heart because I have dealt with it, but also I've just recently had somebody also go through it. And it's a tough one. It is an uncomfortable conversation, and most people are afraid or uncomfortable or ashamed to talk about it, and it doesn't get talked about very often. And I'm going to step outside of the box and talk about it. And we're going to talk about suicide, because it is something that is very big in our world, and I think that so many people want to forget about it, forget that it even exists, forget that people do that, people have those thoughts, or that it happens or has happened to them. Recently, I know somebody that has committed suicide, and I didn't know this person personally, but this person I did know. I did do groups with that person. I knew this person as a smiley, upbeat, never would have thought this person could go to that length. But I think in society, we put on a front. We want people to believe that we're okay because, especially if we have families and we have a job and we have these things, we need to be strong, and we have to be strong for these people, and we forget to take care of ourselves. And it affected me because several months ago, I also had a suicide attempt. It was enough for me to say that I will never do it again. I will never try to do that again. It was a realization that I wanted to live, and thankfully I did have somebody. I reached out when it happened, and it was enough time and everything to be able to get there. And so I was very, when I heard about this news, I was indirectly, but directly heartbroken and saddened and affected by it, because I know the feeling that you get when you're so much in pain and so hurting that you just want it to stop. But you know that, for so long you have to stand up. You gotta be strong for everybody else. And you have to put on that smile that everybody knows and say, like, I got today. I'm going to push through today, one more day. But sometimes when you've done it for so long, and for me personally, I kept fighting until I felt like I couldn't fight anymore, and that pain was so excruciating. I just wanted it to stop. And in the moment, I didn't think, I just reacted. I reacted until I did it, and I felt the effects, and I was like, I regretted it. And I was like, I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I want to live. And I want to live. And I had a little bit of energy to be able to call my best friend and say that I made a mistake and I needed her help. And she rushed over, she dropped everything, and I was able to call 911 and get the help that I needed. But in that moment, I thought my world was over and I regretted it. So I feel like, and I've heard this from things that I have read and just from other survivors, that in those moments, a lot of the time, most people don't want to end their life. They just want that pain that you feel to stop. You want the stuff that's going on in your head to just stop, and you don't know how to make that stop. You know, you try everything, but you feel like you need to stay strong for everybody else. And we don't talk about these feelings that we get when we feel like we want to end our lives, or we feel like we are having suicidal thoughts or ideation, because in society we get shamed for it. We get shamed because, oh, you're acting up, or you're wanting attention, or if you're gonna, I've had people say, or I've heard other people tell other people, if you're gonna do it, just do it. And it's not about getting attention, but it is about getting attention. It's about, I'm hurting, hear me out, see that I am hurting. And sometimes people don't even use those words, but they are plainly in some way or another saying, I am hurt, I am going through pain, I'm physically and emotionally hurting. And some might use social media. They will put up a post that will indirectly say that they are hurting and they need help. Or some people will call somebody and say, I need this, and I'm feeling these thoughts. Or some people will, there are so many different ways that people go out and try to get this help. But if the other people in their lives aren't reading through the cracks and through the lines, it is really hard to miss. And especially if you're not really reading that person, it can be really hard and easy to miss that person is going through something really big. And it's not the other people's fault at all that they've missed that. And it's not to blame or shame. It's just saying, maybe in our society, especially through this pandemic right now, that so many people, like there is a rise of 27% of suicides in Canada because of the stress of COVID. And the thing is that we need to be more aware of the people who are struggling with mental health. And, we're doing better with talking about mental health, but we could be doing better. We're doing okay, but we could be doing better. We could be talking about this stuff. In the news, we hear about people who get murdered by their significant others. We hear about people who get murdered by other people, or people who get molested, or people who get hit by cars, or any of that type of death. But when it comes to a suicide, do we hear that in the news? No, not really. We will hear it in obituary. We'll hear it on Facebook from somebody who has shared something about that person who has committed suicide, because it is so uncomfortable, because that person chose to end their life instead of having somebody do it for them. And the thing is, it's not that they chose to end their life, it's that they chose to end the suffering. And it's not that they wanted to die. They wanted help, but they felt that they were alone and they had nobody to run to, or had anybody that knew that they were hurting, and they were trying to give them signs instead of directly doing it because of their own shame or their own guilt, to say, I need help. Because most people, especially because of our society, this isn't a problem because of us, but because of our society has told us that we need to buckle up and be strong, and we need to suck it up and deal with whatever's going on and push our feelings down. Don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. Even though they say, let's talk about mental health, but let's not talk about our feelings. Let's not talk about our emotions. We have families. We need to be strong for our families. We need to, especially women who, for women, we self-harm a lot. But in occasion, yes, we don't do that. We choose that we can't handle it anymore. And so because we are the caregiver, we are the housemaker, we are the person that clean, the housekeeper, we are, all of these things for our families. But who takes care of us? Who is the one that's going to take care of us? There's not very many people. And so it's really difficult for us to actually ask for help. There are so many people, especially that I know, that are afraid to ask for help. I am one person who is not afraid to ask for help. I have learned this over the years. It took a lot to ask for help, but I think it's a mindset that you have to put in your head. And the thing is that a majority of the women, it's very difficult for them because it's out of fear and anxiety that they're going to be judged, that they're going to feel that they're not good parents, or they're not a good mom if they ask for help, because they should be able to do this because they're supposed to be super women. And so, and same with, I have some statistics that men over the age of 45, they end up committing suicide. The women that get hospitalized for suicide attempts and self-harm is between the ages of 10 and 24. Like, that's young. That is so young. In our day and age, what are we doing to our 10-year-olds where they feel that they no longer want to exist in our world? Like, those young girls, like, what are we doing to allow them to feel like they don't want to exist in this world? Because we don't talk about mental health at that age, because we want to hush, don't talk about it. Let's not be open about it. Not until they're older. We want to be careful. But the thing is I think we should have an open conversation and be as open as possible, because if we don't talk about it and we don't open up the door about these things, then they're going to feel like they need to be quiet about it. They need to put everything inside of themselves. And like, another thing is, like, one of the other rates is that the other suicides that are more frequent to commit suicide is the LGBTQ community, but the youth, because they are so scared of what people are going to think if they come out of the closet, and they are opening up to be who they want to be, but they're going to be judged. And unfortunately, because high school is so mean sometimes, and so we talk, but do we even talk about it? We kind of like, we talk about it for a minute and then we brush it under the carpet. Like, when we watch, I watched 13 Reasons Why, and I think, like, it was definitely dramatic, and it was it was a lot, but it is how it kind of goes. And I think that every child really should watch it, like, as they get a little bit older, with a parent. Like, they should sit down, and because it's controversial, because it all depends. But if you don't talk about it, then nobody knows anything. And then when you become an adult, it's like you still haven't talked about it. And then you feel like it's the only way out, and when it's not, because there's so much help out there, but people are so ashamed or so scared to ask for that help. And our stats for Canada is that just in 2017 there was 4,500 suicides in Canada. That is a lot of deaths. And from then, we've had 27% rise since COVID. So, I mean, that's pretty big. Like that, it says that we're in the 9th leading cause of death in Canada for suicides. But we don't really talk about it. We don't talk about it when somebody dies from suicide, because I ask that question, why? Why don't we? Is there a reason? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something that maybe I'm not seeing on social media that maybe we were talking about it? Because I just don't see us talking about it very often. And like, I directly was affected by this, and when I would bring it up to people, and it wasn't that I talked to very many people about it, I talked to my close friends, and people get uncomfortable. They get uncomfortable talking about it, about me going through it, and that kind of makes me feel like, when you feel like somebody else is uncomfortable, you feel kind of shameful or guilty that you brought it up, because you don't want them to feel bad or something. I don't know. Like, I don't want to put my pain on anybody or that on anybody, but I want to talk about it because so many people are going through these thoughts every day and thinking about suicide, and thinking about ending their life because they can't handle the suffering that they deal with every day, of mental health, and like the fear of talking to somebody, or it's something to do with their families, or it could be society, it could be guilt or shame or anything. And like I just want to talk about, make people aware that it is a thing that is on so many people's minds, and it is real. It is so real. And so many people, probably out of, 5 of your friends, at least one of those friends probably think about suicide daily, once a week. Especially in a pandemic, one out of your 5 friends, one out of your 3 friends are struggling with mental health, and we're sitting here and we're trying to get by and not really talking about the effects of what's happening in the world to our mental health, and what could happen if we don't get the help to everybody. I see a psychiatrist, I see a therapist, I am on medication. I make sure that I talk about all of my, if I have something on my mind, I make sure that I talk to my best friend about it, or my sister. I am on social media. I make aware of my mental state and my mental health, because I don't want to ever feel that way again. And even though I went through that, I still, before that, I was still doing all of that. I still went and seen a doctor, and I was on meds and all of this stuff. But there was a point in my life where I felt lost, and I felt like there was nobody there. So you could still have all of those things in place and still feel like nobody's there, and that you feel alone, and that you feel like the only way to end the suffering and the pain and what you're going through is by ending your life. But there is other ways, and there are people in your life that are there for you. But unless you open up and you talk about it, and that's not just the people that aren't suicidal, but the people that are aware of the other person's mental health, or even just having an open conversation in your families about mental health, and say, let's have a conversation today about mental health. Let's see how everybody's doing, if there's anything that's bothering anybody, even if you have to go in a separate room and talk about it, just so that everybody knows that everybody's there for one another, and that nobody feels completely alone. That if I feel like I can't survive right now, I can go somewhere and I can talk to somebody, and I'm not going to feel shameful or feel guilty or feel like I shouldn't be talking about this. We need to be doing this in our families. We need to be doing this with our peers and with our community. And if we don't, then we will continue to have more suicides in our lives and in our communities and in our world. And we need to do a better job. We need to be getting the word out. We need to be talking about this. We need to be open and honest, and just bringing this to our tables in our homes, because this isn't going to go away. This isn't just going to be like, oh, this happened under the carpet, it's never going to happen again, because that's not true. It's going to happen tomorrow. Somebody's going to kill themselves tomorrow. Somebody's going to end their life because of something, because they felt alone, or because they thought that they had nowhere else to turn. So we need to talk about this. This has to stop. This has to be talked about. And that is why I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to be the uncomfortable person, and I'm going to put it out there. And I hope that people listen to my video, and I hope that, even if the people got offended by me talking about it, why? Ask yourself why you're offended. Ask yourself, why would you be offended that I'm talking about this? What if you feel embarrassed, or you feel whatever emotions you're feeling while I'm talking about this? Ask yourself why. That's what I want to get across today, because I don't want to see another friend or another person that I know, or myself, even myself, ever go through that ever again. Because in the end, you need to remember the people who suffer and who are suffering, who try to commit or do succeed in it, do not want to die. They just want to stop the suffering. So if you take anything away from this video, take away that. I know this was a heavy video, but I hope that you guys take something away from this today. And that's all I have for this video. Thanks, guys.